you how we can improve our, how we can reuse the component, and how we can include a component from one place to another. Suppose we have created two components, one home component. Let me remove this thing, a home component, and second component which I created, the login component. Okay. In login component, I write welcome to login page, and in home component, what I did, I just kept this name. So if I want to include any component, we have to first import it. Import login from the desired locations. Okay. And then in order to use this component, we can use two different ways. One way is like this, and the second way is like this. Okay. Any one way you can use to to show component in your HTMLs. Okay, so let me show you this. Let me open our browser. Let me open it in browser. I think it's running. Let me see whether it's running or not. Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I think it's running, right? Let me open the browser and see. Let me open this. And if I reload this, nothing happened, right? Okay, okay. Okay, nothing happened. Why nothing happened? When I reload this thing, I cannot see anything. Okay. Why? Because we have to load our component. We have to tell React like this is our base component, or from this place our application start. I created two components, but I did not tell React like, okay, load my application from this page. Hence, it is not showing anything. Anybody remember how can we tell React like, okay, from this place, or this is your main component, you have to render this component first, and then since it's a single page application, then we will bring back all the other components. So that definition we write inside our index.js file. Okay, and the place where we declare like this is our starting component is within this render. Okay, or I would say within this render functions. So what we need to do, I want my home page to be a landing page, or the page which will be shown up when a user open my website. What I will first import the home page. Okay, what I did, I imported the home page, and I know this home is a component. So way we write a component is like this. Anybody have any question in it? So what will happen when the React get compile, it will land to this page. Okay, and what I see in here, okay, in my home page, I written this is my home page, but now I see something different. Welcome to login page. Welcome to login page two times.
Sir, one thing,
Yes.
suppose in home page, suppose home page I am considering as a dashboard page. Okay.
Yes.
In
Yes.
dashboard page there are multiple links which can navigate to other page. Okay.
Correct.
So
Correct.
home page should be designed in that way so that after index.html the home page will be redirected, and over the home page the links will be there. So over there we can jump to the next page.
No, no, not like that. Okay. If you see any website which are popular, okay, you see different sections, right? mean this top section, this menu sections, right? I would say this section, then the listing section, then some text section. If you see a Git website, so you have to design your home page so that it will have the structure of this thing. Structural design you have to do, not the full design. And then on each structure you have to bring back the component to that place. मीन हिंदी में बोले तो तुम्हें पेन से खाली तुम स्केच कर रहा है, बाउंड्री दे रहा है, यू विल जस्ट क्रिएट अ बाउंड्री in your index.html page. Like there is one line, this thing and this thing should be written on other place. This thing should be written on some other component. Okay.
And will be used in a home page.
Yeah, will be use in home page. How we will use in home page? How we will use in home page? Uh,
Import.
by using import and by using those those library there. Like for my case, what we have done, we have created this. Okay, and then I bring those component into this page by importing this and by using this. And in our last example, in our last class, we have learned how to, I mean, we have moved forward, but then I think no, in order to, I mean, if I use that in that way, then we cannot learn it fully. Okay, that's why I revisited this thing again. So we have developed this kind of structure. Like in our homepage, see, we see the menu, we see everything. But if you go to the codes and try to see this thing, you will see.
Sir, after finishing this React class, okay, like the Node.js class, you have started the React class. After finishing all this, can you actually give 2, 3 class for the CSS only?
Okay, let me complete this. I think after this React class, you will not need those things. Okay, you will able to understand those things.
No,
Okay,
for
but
actually
for
for
basics,
development,
yeah, but for basics, I will try. I will try.
CSS part of it.
Yeah, CSS part. Okay, let me. So we will develop this thing again. We will develop this thing again, but in a, I would say, in a deep manner. Okay, or I would say, in the manner which I try to tell you here. I mean, I will try to. We will try to see how we are doing those things and then complete those things. Okay. So we come to know about the component. If I ask you to create a new component, you can do it. Anybody have any dot, like how can we create a component, how can we create a design and all those things? So we can do that thing. Okay, now come the next topic which we need to learn is JSX. JSX means JavaScript extension, or somebody call it as a JavaScript XML. Okay, so what is this JSX? See, we I mean, as I told you here, like we need to I mean, whenever we are writing a code, we can utilize this thing in this way. Let me bring this thing back. So I had this thing in the bottom. So Facebook community, they in order to, I mean, there were some tools where we can use HTML and CSS together, but still I would say not together, but in a two separate way. All the frameworks, if you see any frameworks, they fully separate the HTML portion and the JS portion. Okay, and then we we push or we include those things, or we append those things by using JS into HTML. And similarly, from HTML, if you want to get those things, then we have to get those things by some way, by one way or another. Okay, what React developer did, they try to combine these two things, and they successfully able to combine this thing. And after combination, they name this thing as JSX. So JSX is nothing but it is the way where we write HTML code inside our JS file. Okay, it's a way of writing HTML code inside our JS file. If you see our code, we are not writing any I would say any HTML here, right? We will not have any HTML in our code. We will only have the JS file other than our index.html. But we are writing HTMLs, we are writing div, we are writing paragraph forms and everything. So how these things are happening? I mean, in if you see any tutorials, anything other than React, you will find the name of that file is .html. Inside that .html, we will write the JavaScript. Okay. So React goes on opposite way. It allows us to write HTML inside JavaScript, and it named this thing as JSX. Okay. JSX have certain rule. What rule? First rule, it says like all the things which are inside your component can access your HTML by default. Okay. And if you want to use it on other place, you have to pass it there. Then only it can use. First rule. Second rule, it said all the tags which are there in HTML should be semantic. Mean it should open and get closed. Okay. So even some of the tags like BR, if you have worked on HTML, then you might have used BR and it used to work fine. But when you comes to TypeScript, it start to give an error. Okay, it tell unterminated JSX content. It will give unterminated JSX content error. It's mean every tag in JSX must start and must end. So you can write this BR in this way also, or in this way. Okay. So all the tags which you see, you have to start and you have to end that. Let okay. Okay. Any question here? And the same thing, like you have to use your JS code here, which will interact with the HTML and JS code which are above this, which can be used for the global functioning thing, but it will not interact with this. Okay. We are good with JSX. Okay.
Yes, one thing,
Yes, sir.
Firdous sir, in
Mhm.
JSX. Okay, how you're ensuring that we are writing in JSX?
Since we are using React compiler, okay, it's mean we are writing in JSX.
Okay.
Because see why, because we have write this function in this way, we are returning this in this second bracket, in this round bracket way. Okay, so this mean it's a JSX only. If we did not return, mean if we have written like this. Okay, let me show you. Good question. See, if I just give a return and try to give div. Okay, this is not a JSX. Why it's not a JSX? Because in in order to be a JSX, it should return in a round bracket. Okay, the first bracket. If once I complete make it like this, it's mean it's a JSX. And if I keep it like this, it's mean it's just a simple functions which return to this. Understand? That syntax is same. That syntax is same, right? And why I tell always give a fragment start and end. because so that if we write anything which does not have any tags like this way, it should not give an error. Okay, this I just given a text without anything, without any div, so this should not give an error. But if I don't give this thing in a fragment, it always try to find it. All your things should have some start and end tags. So this div has a start and end tag. This login has a start and end tags. This login has start and end tags, but this thing did not. And then again, on a whole, this whole thing does not have any a single boundary. Does not have a start and end tags. Okay, so this give an error. So
It
I
can
would say
return
these
only
are,
one element, actually, the
yeah, yeah,
string.
yeah, 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 yes, yes. So it will return only one element. Okay, yeah, that's the correct answer. It only return one element, it's not more than one. And if I write this way, it's returning for five elements. Okay, so this code, this return way, I ensure it is a JSX only. Okay, any question on JSX component, anything? No. Okay, because when I see my video again, I found I was very fast. Okay, and in that way you might miss all those things. Okay, now we are good. We know how we can create the component. We know how we can create the JSX. Okay, now let us combine this thing. Let us combine this thing and utilize this thing and do something. What we can do, what we do in our JS and HTML, we try to get data, we try to create function, we try to populate data. Okay, so how you can do that thing? Let us create one form inside our login. What form? Let us okay. Let us create one form. I will not do any design here, and let us write two things: login user user ID. Now, if you are from UI person, you will see we generally use input text like this. We don't give any int tag, but once you work with JSX, all your tags should have a int tag. Okay. What I did, I just created two div, and then inside this div, I am storing something. Okay. And then let us see what happened to our code. This was this is the live code. Okay. So what happened? It bring the, I would say, it, it land into our dashboard, and since I have included the login page in our dashboard, it land into this ugly page. Okay. So here we will able to understand like how we can use this thing, how we read data from any form in React, and how we call any functions in React. Okay. And then I can write the functionalities of this function in this place. I have already told you I can write function on above also, but since this login form I want it directly use it from a component. So what I will do, I will write function here. How can I write function? How can I write function? I mean any functions. So there are different way. Let me show you all the different way where we can write a function. We can write this way, which is a very common way. Then this way, okay, and then this way. Okay. Again, as I told you, whenever you do any development, you should agree on some architectural design, like how you will write your function. So these are the three common way where we can write a function. This is called. I always forget this name. This is called mm, arrow function. Okay.
Arrow function.
Yeah. And as customers tell, like how can we write ECMA script? So this is an ECMA script. Okay. It come after 2016. ECMA, I mean, we commonly call as ECMA script. So as a developer, you should agree like which thing I will use. Do I will write our function in this way? Do I will write our function in this way? Or do I will write our function in this way? These are the architectural decisions. Okay. Or the design pattern of your applications. So before doing anything, I will first decide. I will make our mind like whenever I have to create a function, I will create in this way only. So your whole application, you will create your function in this way. So which way we should use? Since we are working on latest technology or the latest way, arrow functions comes with some benefits which we will see in later phase. So I will recommend, or now the people recommend to use arrow functions. Okay, so we will use arrow functions for for all our development. Whenever we will try to write any function, we will write function in arrow function way. But all three works same. Okay, or in similar way. But arrow function have some benefits. Some benefits I would say. I would say not. It's not some difference thing, but it come up with some benefits. And it's a latest thing, so we should go with the latest thing. Any question? So what I decide, whatever function I will write in arrow function. Okay. Now let's see. Okay. Okay. So we have binded the functions with our HTML, and now we can alert whatever thing you can do in JavaScript, you can do it in JSX. Every property of JavaScript or every functionality of JavaScript can be used or can be used in JSX. Sorry, yeah, JSX. Yeah. So तुम जैसा you can write your code in JS way only, but it is not recommended, because if you are writing a JS code only, then why you are writing the React? Why you are writing this using this library? Okay, instead of this, you can use it in the traditional way. So we will try to follow the best practices. So so now let's see our application. What happened? What change happened here? Uh, Now when I click here, it gives error. Why? We know these are the way we used to call, right? Why it give error? Because there are two things. Because in JSX we used to call in different way. Got it? In traditional code we used to call in this way, right? We used to call in this way. But in JSX we sorry, let me give a code. Let me show you the difference and then you can easily understand. In traditional way, we used to call in this way only, right? But since it's a JSX, it comes with some difference. So what we do, whenever we want a interaction between one place to another, between the JS and HTML, we give it in this curly brace. Okay. Now when I refresh it, I get the alert. Okay. So first thing we learn, like how we can call a function. We call a function on any event, and then we write a function name in this way.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
for running this page, okay. So
Mhm.
which command you are using?
npm start.
Npm start. Then actually you are running the home page, right? So npm start, only npm start. They will run the index page.
What I did, I first mean decided like what kind of structure I will have, right? So I have changed my structure. Then what I did, I mean I make an architectural decision, like my home page should be my landing page. So what I did in index.js page, I included this home component into this place. So what it did, whenever your application get called, whenever your base location get called, it render this component, this home component. Hence I can see this thing as my landing page. Okay, let's move forward. So what I see, like yeah, there are some difference. Okay, there are some difference between the traditional JS or HTML with this. So whenever we click anything, instead of giving a function name in quotation and with a round bracket, we have to give function name in curly brace. Curly brace is used to communicate between the variables which are there in JS into HTML. Like if I if I write X, and instead of this, if I remove this and give page heading, if I write like this and say welcome to login page. As I told you, this curly brace means it will try to find out the value from the JS portion. Okay, so it will go there and it will append this thing to this place. You can see this thing. It changed to welcome to login page. It changed to welcome to login page using JSX. So what we have learned? We have learned two things here. What? How we can pass value from JSX or JS portion of a JSX into HTML. How we can pass it? By giving the curly brace. This curly brace tell the JSX code to render this thing from your from your component JS portion. Got it? Any dot here? No? Okay. Second thing, if we need to write any function, again we have to give curly brace and the function's name. Okay. Okay. Now, no, 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 no. Yeah. Now, if you see this thing, is it is I can write anything. Okay, I can write anything here. And then once I give something like this, once I give something like this, now when I do this thing, we get some error, right? We get some error. What error? You provided a value props to the form field without an on change handler. This will render the read only field if the field should be mutation use default value, otherwise set either change or read only or on change or read only. Mean what it say? Once I only added this thing inside our text field, what happened? I cannot do anything. I am typing in this. See, I can type when I type password is working, but once I give uh, a default value in it, it it is not able to update it. Why? For best practice, React says always have a state maintained in your application. Okay, your form, your HTML portion should have some state, and whenever you write any forms, anything, you want to change it. Those forms should have a on change handler. Mean it should have some function like on change. So if you give any default value, with this default value, you have to give you have to give an on chain handler, and similar to login, you have to create the function of this on chain handler. Okay. Okay. When I do this thing, and now when I try to update, still it does not work. But what happened here? What happened here? See, those error are gone now. We cannot see any error. Let me show you again. Once I given some value and did not given the on chain handler in it, it failed. It start to give some errors. It tell please have if you wanted some default value, please have on chain handler with it, else it will become a read only kind of field. So it become a read only kind of field. But we want to write here. How you can do this? You have to create an on-send handler, and then React never tell to use any value like this. It does not tell you to use it. Okay, it tell you whenever you want to have any value inside a form or update any value inside a form, the best practice of React is to create a hook, to create a state of this. So then come our seventh point. Okay, like how we can maintain state in our React. So whenever we will want to add any value or read any value from React and want to work with it, we will need to create state of this thing. So for reading a value from the form, or for displaying some value inside a form, we use state hook. What we use state hook. So in order to use state, we need to import it from React. Okay, mean let me show you one thing. It's mean earlier on in our JavaScript, we used to write something like this. Let x equal to this, right? Or instead of this value, we can have this thing. We can have this thing, and then I use some ID here, and then here we used to write this thing: document dot get element by ID. What is the ID? User ID dot value equal to x, right? So these were the way with the traditional JavaScript and HTML, we can send value here and we can remove this thing. Then also it would have worked. With React also that will work. Okay. Okay. So, sorry, with React it will not work like this. Why? Because it has some rule and regulation. It is not the traditional JS, so that I can communicate directly with the HTML. So how we can do this? For this, React give us hook, and one hook whose name is useState. So useState is used to maintain the state of our component. We used to maintain the data. We need to transfer the data from one place to another place of our component. So this use state return to variable as an array. So whenever you need to write any variable like this, instead of this, you need to write const then an array sign. If I write it same way, then we will write like this. We will declare our state like this way. Got it? Okay. And here you can see, whenever we write a state, we will give two things. First is the name of the state. Second is a setter of this state. This setter is used to update this value. Okay, so instead of let x my name, we can write this in this way. Okay, and as I told earlier on, like whenever we want to send data from this place to our HTML, we will use the curly brace sign. So if you want to pass this value here, we give value and the curly brace sign, and the value should be x. Let us see what happened now. Now see, value comes, but again till here, again I'm not able to write it. It is not giving you us the as to yeah, the access to write. So how can we overcome this? How can we overcome this? We remove this thing and see. Okay, how can we overcome this thing? Still, it is not giving us to write. Is to bind the state with the change method. I mean, as I told you, React work on as a one-way binding. Whenever you are writing something and giving curly brace here, so data are coming from JS portion to HTML, but since it's a one-way binding, so on change we are not doing anything. So what happened? The data are not getting changed. Mean it's not a two-way binding like so the data will flow from JS to HTML and again from HTML to JS. To make it like that, we have to pass the value from from HTML to JS only, and then update our JS variables there. Mean what I try to say, whenever there is any change, I will I will write this function like this on change function with the e contain our event. Okay, and then what I will do, I will use this setter method set x, and inside this I will have I will update the value of this target of this place where I am writing anything. Okay, same function I can give in passwords also. Oh, no, sorry. For this I will explain you later. Now what happened? Now when I comes here, I reload this thing. Bingo, I can write. I can able to write further, and there are no error in my code. Oh, so these are the things which we learned today. Okay, anybody have any questions, any doubt before I wrap up this thing again?
Yes, on change, whenever actually something on change means you are actually changing the text. Okay,
Correct,
by on change is a function whenever you are changing the text, something actually happening. Okay,
correct, correct.
in here, whenever you are writing the name or something on the text box, okay,
Mhm.
how it is actually.
Anybody have anybody have this answer? Anybody else?
Yeah, actually, on change is a kind of listener. It's a event listener, we can say. As part of UI, whenever a user interact with application, then we have the different different events we are having. On change is one of the event. User interacts with the application with the events only. At that time, whatever action is performing, based on that, we have to use particular based on that one we have to use a particular this one event here user is trying to change the value, so it is input box, so he will try to change the value, so here unchange is the perfect uh, event for that one. So we have to in React we have to use unchange event for that one we have to assign one event listener that is called just like we can say function for that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, correct. So what I did, see when I do a on change, mean if I do any change, mean if I write any text, I am calling this function. I have given the logs. I will show you how it's happening. Secondly, whenever we call this function, this event, the whole thing, whole event which happened. What happened? Yeah, and this target give us like where it happened. Okay, email the event which happened, and e dot target, these are called, these are kind of a global variable which comes up with a JavaScript. Okay, so and dot target means the the place where it happened. If you see this thing, if you see this thing, and if I reload this thing, and if I do any event, event mean if I click here J, you can see it tell us like this J happened in this place. This event happened mean either we delete it or we write anything. Since I given the uh, the event handler on change, so whenever I am doing any change in this text, it is calling this functions. Okay, and since I use this e mean event. Okay, event mean I would say it can manipulate the DOM, and out of that DOM, I am logging the target portion. Target portion mean the place where it happening, where I'm doing the change. I'm doing the change here. Oh, sorry, in this text field. So in target, I am getting that text field only. Okay, and inside the target, if you want to fetch anything like type, it will give text like id. I can fetch id by using e dot target dot id. If I want to fetch the value, because this is the place where I am interested, I want to bind this with the state. Okay, with the use state variables. So that's why I am taking this value. Okay, now what will happen when I reload this thing? See, when I type I, since I'm taking value, this is our target, and from this target the value we are getting this. So this is a way where we can get a, I mean if we add any event listener inside any text form, so these are the way where I can get a value from it. You need to understand this only. Okay, now what happened on change? As I told you, we need to bind it with the JSX state. Then only the React will work perfectly. So where I have defined the state, I have defined the state here. So what we need to do, let instead of this, let me change it to current value. Okay, and I can write this thing like this also. Okay, what will happen in line number 34? I am setting set x will see, this is your variable and this is the setter. This is the way where we write state. Give a const or variable type, then an array sign. First parameter is the variable name x. Like for the first game, this is x. So in JSX, in state method, who use state who, we write variable name like this. Second method is the way of setting the variable, is the function which set the value of this variables. Okay, then we give use state, and inside this we give the default value of the variable. Okay, and then what I did, I bind it with this text field. But since React.js is a one-way binding, I can take value from JS and I can bind it to the HTML portion, but it does not do a multi-level binding. So what happens, since the state is not maintained and React worked on the virtual DOM, so this thing React could not able to understand in his virtual DOM, because you are working on the real DOM, and since you are not maintaining the state of the value, React could not able to understand this thing. And what it does, mean if you don't give this function, what it will does, your real DOM, you are working on real DOM, but your virtual DOM are different. So when React try to put your data back into the real DOM, this change will not reflect. Hence, if I don't give this on change functions, and if I don't even if I give it, but if I don't update the value or maintain the states of the variable, React treat this as a disable form, and it does not allow us to write. I am typing, but I could not able to write. Okay. So in order to make this thing, what we have to do, we have to fire an event. If we are working on any HTML, we have to fire an event, and then we have to set the state, set the value with the latest value. Okay. So from event, I can take the latest value by using this, and then I update my x variable. So this set x means I'm updating the x variable value in React like this. So in this way, our HTML and JS get bind. And now whenever I do any change in HTML, those change are got reflected in virtual DOM, and then we can see those things since our state has been maintained here. Okay. Very small code, but it tell us how we can pass a variable from JSX or JavaScript to HTML, how we can call a function from HTML to JS, how we bind a value, how we get a default value, how we have a default value inside any text field, how we declare any variable. I would say variables. Okay, variables that will communicate with HTML, and that may change. Okay, by using the use state method, and how we can add a event listener, so that whatever change happen in our text, that get reflected in JS portion, and our state get maintained. And rest everything I have teach you last day. Rest everything was the best practice, or the what is this kind of thing. Any question, anything, any dot here? We are good to close this
Yeah,
call.
yeah, is as per your my understanding here that state what why we are maintaining is it deals with virtual DOM. State is deals with virtual DOM, and the virtual DOM will update the real DOM. That's why we are using a state.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I have created this kind of document, so that you can go one by one, use any place. I mean, go and watch anybody tutorials and try to get the concept of this thing. If you have the concept, then you will able to understand this thing. So till now, we are in line 6, and when we will develop the projects, we will try to complete all the roadmap. And when you will be, I would say, 13 14 points, then I think you will be able to understand everything fully. Okay. So, I mean, that's why I repeated everything again, but we will go in a systematic way instead of ad hoc way.
Uh, so this thing, once we practice this thing, then we will have a doubt, and after
Yes,
practicing,
yes,
then
yes.
we can ask him.
Yeah, and one more thing. Instead of this, if this is a form, then we can give a submit for buttons. Okay, let me show you that also, so that you can have a basics knowledge of this. Right? Submit. Okay, do submit. Do submit. It does not have any functions like this. Once you understand this thing, na, if you could able to understand this thing, then React will be very easy one. Okay. In submit also we pass the event. Okay. We pass E. See here, we don't need to pass, but here we pass it. We pass E. And you will find one thing, since we are maintaining the state, so we can write the variables without passing it also. We can interact the variable without passing it also. Okay. Inside submit, if I do like this, and and give some console, give alert so that we can able to see this thing. I did not did anything. Okay. What I did, I need to remove this. So our form submit button should be like this, right? And then in form I need to write like this. And if I go there, what is okay? And if I submit this, see it is showing submitted. But when I click it here, see what happened? It took the value from the forms also, right? Let me show you again. When I click here, what happened? It got alert, and you will see this page will get loaded, right? This page got loaded. So since we are working on React, so another algorithm, I mean, sorry, another architectural, I mean, or the design pattern which will follow is whenever we are writing any submit button, we are doing anything, we do not need to reload this thing, because if the page get reload, all the states will get lost, all the state value will get lost, like this HHG will get lost, right? It get lost and become the previous one. Single page application does not work like that. Okay. So if you are giving any submit button, you have to write this in top. Okay. You have to write e dot prevent default on top so that the page do not reload. I know these are the very small thing. These are the very small thing, and everybody knows this thing. But see, once I did that, my page are not reloading again. So these are the some of the design pattern which we need to follow. Now see, when I click here, page are not loading anything. Okay, but it is calling the alert which are behind. I mean after that everything. Anybody have any question here? Let me push my code, and you can find inside this folder. Okay, 9 September 2020. What happened? It's not okay. Because on last week I went too fast. Right. I created those things. That's also better because you can recall everything now. That was mainly on design phases, but now we are working on implementation and everything. So no question now. Okay, let me recall everything what I did in this today's class. In today's class, what I did, I created a new project which is inside our 9 September 2023 folder. In order to create the project, I use npx create react app dot, because I created this folder first, so I just give dot. So without creating any new folder, it created this structure. I remove everything other than this index.cs HTML. All the thing which was in SRC folder, I removed all those things. Okay, even I don't need this logo.svg. Even I don't need that also. I just kept index.html, index.css, and inside public, I did not touch anything. Okay, Then what I did, I created one folder called component, and based on the modules, I will try to create the component. So what I did, I created two component, login and home pages. Okay. Then we learn like how we can create a component. So to create a component, we need to write a function like this, and then return the fragment, and inside the fragment we will write our HTML. On top of it, we can write the JS, which are global or import anything from any other places. And in this place, we will write the JS, which will interact with our HTML portion. Okay. So we created two, I would say two component, one at home without anything and other at login. Okay. Then what I did is I once I create the login component, I try to reuse the login component. So I imported it and wrote it like this. Okay. We can write like this also, or in this way also. Both will work without any issue. Once I did this, I see whatever thing were there in login page, it start to come here. Then I went to login page. I try to create some form. I created some basic form which have the username, password, and one button. Okay. Then I teach you how can we call a function from button. So for that we need to give an event listener. For this case, it's on click and the function name. The difference here is we don't give the function name in quotation. We give function name with this third bracket sign. Okay, and inside it, whatever we do, that will interact with the uh, JS portion of our code. So I wrote this do login function, and then I tell you, mean mean shown you the three way we can write a function. But for our case, we agree like we will use the arrow function. I mean, while defining the functions. Okay, so I wrote this and just click and just alert the high there. So whenever I click this function, I got this alert. The next thing of which I taught you, like how we can display some text from JS into the HTML. So for that what happened? We can use any way. We can use let also. So in this way, this text will comes here. But this way, we can make a static data. We can transfer. Okay, we cannot transfer the dynamic data. Then what we try to do, we try to create a text form, and then try to have the data. We created a text form, and then when we try to give value there, by default JSX tell no, you cannot give value there. You have to give an on change listener also. I given the on change listener, still it does not work. It does not allow us to work with that text field. Then what I did, I have to create a state, okay, which will maintain this thing. For that, React.js give us a hook, which name is use state. So what I did, I imported that hook, which name is use state, and then I declared a variable. So use state return an array with two variable. First variable is the name of that variable or the state, and the second parameter or the second uh, parameter of that array is the function name through which we can set this variables. Okay. Then on change, what we did, we pick up the event listener, and sorry, on change text we pick up the event listener, get the value of that event. I mean, since it is text field, so get the value of this text field, and then set the value of our state x, which we have declared. So yeah, in this way we bind everything. We bind the state of of the dynamic value, the value which get update in our forms. We bind it with the state of the JSX, and in this way our code works. Okay. In this way I can able to write the value in text field also. Now the next thing, since we have a submit button, so for submit we need to write it like this. Again, the function, the way we write function is a bit different than the traditional JavaScript. Okay, we have to give a curly brace and then the function name. And here, since we are writing a single page application, all your submit function, on top of that we need to write e-prevent listener. Okay, and one last thing, whenever we are declaring any function, we have to declare state on top of it. Okay, mean it should be on top. We cannot declare here. Okay, we should declare on top of our component where the function start. Okay, so that's it for today. Tomorrow we will learn some advanced form, and then if we get a time, then we will interact with the API, like how we can get data from API, post data from API. Okay, so thank you and bye bye.